All doctors to the ER.
Do these guys have any idea what they are talking about?
Get squared away.
Spiritual.
Get squared away.
Emotional.
Get squared away.
Mental.
Get squared away.
Physical.
The podcast that'll help you get squared away.
All right, we are back with episode 20. God damn.
2-0. Wow.
2-0. Made possible by all of the great podcast supporters. And if you guys haven't yet, get on iTunes or Spotify and rate the podcast and send it to 5 people. Because if 5 people send it to 5 people, send it to 5 people. I'm no mathematician, but that's a lot of people. So
It's not that 6-person rule.
okay, 6. Yeah, 6. Let's do 6.
Really
go wild. Really go wild. What the hell you been up to, man?
Not much. Just trying to bear the heat like you.
Yeah. It was a good week, man. I was off work, real work for the week, and went and explored Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. If nobody's been there, pretty interesting. One of the coolest things we did was the boat tour, where they actually talk about all the rich ass people that founded that lake. And nobody knows where Lake Geneva is. It's what is it, like 2 hours north of Chicago, probably?
Boy, yeah.
Probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Chicago. So all the really, really rich people from Chicago went up there in like the early 1900s and founded this lake as like the vacation spot for all the wealthy people. And I mean, we're talking like Wrigley from Wrigley Chewing Gum. They had like 6 miles of estates. Yeah. And it's cool to hear the history of the lake, even though, you know, rich ass people keep other rich ass people around, and they got a golf course there that they only average 60 tee times a week. And I don't know if anybody knows, but that's like a busy Saturday morning at a golf course around here.
Yeah.
But there's only like 255 members, and you have to get voted on, and you can't get any no's from any one of those members. And one dude that built the largest single family home on that lake. It's 50,000 square feet. He wanted to be part of that golf course, and he got, put up for vote, and there was a few no's. So what he did is he built a barn on the lake side of his property and put a bunch of farm animals there and named every one of the farm animals after somebody that's part of that golf course.
Oh, really?
Just to
I didn't know that.
Just to get back at him.
Wow.
But I don't even know what the name of the designer that designed Central Park had an estate there, and the guy from Marshall Fields had an estate there, and the producer from Young and the Restless and Bold and the Beautiful had an estate there. And it's interesting. It's interesting first off to hear about how a place like that comes about, right? Like I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I think it was like late 90s, early 2000s. There was radio ads. Like every single radio station had radio ads for some lake in Tennessee. Do you remember that?
No.
It was a lake in Tennessee, and I'm assuming it was similar to this. Like some developer probably bought the entire lake front property, and then they were advertising it everywhere to get rich ass people to kind of make this a new vacation place. And I wish I remembered what the lake was. Maybe if one of you listeners remember, because I would like to look and see if that ever worked out. Because I remember hearing about this thing. I'm like, this is a scam. Is this like one of those assholes that owns, lakefront property in Florida that's going to sell it to you for cheap or something?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got to make their money somehow.
Right.
So you got all that from going to Lake Geneva once, and I've been there multiple times, and usually I just park my ass in the sand or, get on a boat and just listen to water.
Next time you go do that boat tour, man, it's worth it. It was like $30.
Oh, really?
It's cool. But it's, it's college kids or late high school kids that are up there telling you they got their spiel and they talk all about it. And they still do mail delivery on the piers. They have a mail boat, and they still do mail delivery. And so the boat never stops, apparently, from what they say. Like you jump off the front of the boat, throw the mail in the pier mailbox, and then you got to jump back on the back of the boat and grab the mail for the next pier. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. It's cool to hear history of stuff like that rather than just walk around and be like, oh, there's a big house. Oh, there's a big house.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And we wanted to bike that walking path that goes all the way around. Yeah. No. That is not a bike friendly city.
Oh, really?
We took bikes we didn't get them off the truck once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
There was one bike path we found, and it was like the most
at the resort?
Awful. I mean, I guess we pretty much were in town, and then we slept and ate at the resort, know.
Okay.
But There was one bike path in town and we started looking up trail maps and like reviews. It was like awful. It was awful.
Really?
So we just left the bikes on the truck, but
Wow. Yeah, to me, it's kind of like a condensed Door County because I like Door County because it's kind of like Vermont
yeah.
in Wisconsin, a little more condensed. And if you don't feel like driving the 3 hours up, then you just basically go to Lake Geneva and everything is right there. Because in Door County, you got to drive from town to town to town to town. So
I will say, it would be cool to go back with a group of couples and like rent a house or even at one of the resorts and just have, a bunch of people to hang out with. That'd be cool. Because a lot of those little bars were neat, but we're not the type of people just sit at a bar and people watch, we like to go around and do stuff. If we're with a group of people, that'd be fun. Yeah. There is something to say for being done somewhere, getting on the highway and being an hour and 20 minutes from home.
Right.
Like there's something really,
big,
really awesome about that because you're like, oh, I want to go home. And if you're 5 hours away, you're like, all right, we'll be there tonight. Whereas this way, you're like, all right, well, we're going to leave at lunchtime and we'll be back with plenty of time to do shit for the rest of the day.
Quick in and out. And there's some good places to eat there. So it just all depends what you're looking for.
Yeah. A lot of them were closed because we were there earlier in the week. That we kind of screwed ourselves on that one. Yeah. But we walked up to one place. These guys don't really care here about my fucking vacation, but one more funny story. We walked up to this place stories. And it's right on the lake and they've got neon signs in the windows and one says seafood, one says steaks and one says pizza. Yeah. Right. So we're like, we can find something we want to eat here. And so we get a table right on the sidewalk overlooking the lake and we sit down and we look at the menu and it's legit like burgers is it.
Oh, really?
So the waitress comes like, can I get you something to drink? And my wife goes, what do you have for seafood or steaks? And she looked at us like we're idiots. Like, we don't really have that. We're like, well, there's neon signs like right behind you that say seafood and steaks. And she's like, oh yeah, we're still working on the COVID menu. I'm like, give me a fucking break. So we went somewhere else, but that was funny. Like, wait, huh? What? Like maybe turn the fucking neons off or something.
Well, it didn't matter where you're at. At least it was just you and the wife, right?
Yeah. It was a good time. No, it was enjoyable and it was good to get away. My mom was with the kids, so that was an interesting little scenario, but that's for a totally different.
Yeah, kids are still alive, right?
My kids are alive. Yep, that's all that matters.
Just have to let them out of the closet when you get home, right?
Yep. So this week, physical. Anything new?
I've been feeling really good. I think I have a good balance now of the heavy workload and high volume load. So going back and forth. Supplementing has been consistent and my diet's been consistent. It always seems like if my diet's consistent, my performance is really good. So
I've been in this. I've kind of screwed myself the last 2 weeks.
What, ice cream or what?
Yeah, no ice cream this time. No, the exact opposite. So, I'm not saying that I haven't been eating enough, but I haven't been eating the right foods to coincide with my lifting. I've been eating lower carb and pretty low carb actually, almost like borderline keto, but I haven't been lifting to lean out. I've still been lifting heavy and those two things just don't go well together. And that's my fault. It's lack of solid goal, right? Like I didn't set forward a goal. Like I'm going to lean out. So I'm going to eat this way and I'm going to do this kind of like HIIT cardio. I just said, I'm going to eat this way because I feel good. Cause I feel good mentally, and physically per se when I'm eating this way, but I've missed all my lifts multiple weeks. I'm not going to say I've gotten weaker, but I definitely have to try a lot harder to get those heavy lifts. Yeah. And it's all because I'm not feeding my body with the glycogen to make my muscles work right. So if I'm going to lift like this, I need to eat the right way to lift like this. So I need to sit down right now and just put together a more solid plan. Yeah. And normally I have been really solid, but I just I'm not going to say I took the 2 weeks off because I've still been in the gym and put in the work, but I wasn't doing both things in the right, I wasn't pulling both of the right strings to make shit happen. And that's kind of screwed me, but it's also nice to, I guess, take a little break, give the digestive system a little break and smooth everything out. And I do enjoy the way that I feel, when I eat like this, but I'm just not getting stronger. So.
Well, you screwed yourself. I mean, you're in Lake Geneva. There's 5 ice cream places within a block.
I know, and we walked by every one of them.
Well, you walk right by it.
Walk right by every one of them, and there's so many. And the Kilwins,
You got Cold Stone right in the next block.
Yep.
There's what is that? The chocolate shop down the road there.
Yep. Nope. Didn't need any of them.
Wow, that's pretty sad.
It's weird because I don't know. Not everybody's like this, but when I'm on, and when I'm off, I'm way off. So like, if I eat one scoop of ice cream, I'll get ice cream at every one of those places because I'm like, well, I already did it, right? Like that's such a shitty attitude to have, but like that's the way I've always worked. If I'm on, I'm dead on. I'm strict. I'm really good.
Yeah.
And if I'm off, I'm fucking I'm off the rails. There is nothing holding me back. I might eat dessert 3 times in one day.
That's the mentality of those yo-yo dieters.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they're off, they're like looking forward to that crap food, and then all of a sudden they just go right off the cliff.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not going to say that's why I do it, but it's more that mental, like if I don't have to think about it, I know I'm not doing any of it. But if I have to think about it, then I'm like, all right, well, fuck it, whatever. So we're gonna try to find a happy medium here. But
that's the happiness and joy comparison, I think.
Yeah.
Ice cream stories.
And ice cream. Why is it ice cream? Ice cream's so damn good. Maybe it's because we're in Wisconsin and we just developed, right?
Makes everybody happy.
Mental. What have you been working on?
Mental. I'll probably say the one podcast that really hit me last week, and I listened to this podcast a lot, is Clear It Hot. So Andy Stumpf had a guy in there, Kyle Thompson, and they were talking about almost the same thing we talk about. Kyle Thompson runs a podcast called Undaunted, a ministry called Undaunted. So they were talking about getting physically, mentally, and spiritually in shape. And he's got a devotional they wrote in the U version. So I just been kind of following that, kind of connected with a men's group I meet with every week, and just say, hey, maybe there's something we gotta hit, because it talks about being a man nowadays, and how to really hit like what we're talking about, being squared away, being a man, because we're really lacking that. I mean, it's I don't want to offend people. Well, I mean, I probably do anyway.
We both do. It's cool.
But it's what is the term? Is they're really making not feminine. The feminine man, the beta males are really taking over, and I think it's time for men to step up.
Well, and it's a really odd place to be, because what generally was thought of as masculinity isn't real masculinity. It's not, you remember that stupid ass Gillette commercial, boys will be boys. You remember that dumbass fucking commercial?
Yeah.
Like, that's not masculinity. That's trash. That's poor values. That's not the pictures of you that you see of men going into fires and pulling people out. That's not men raising boys to throw themselves on the front line of something that they believe in. That's true masculinity. That's putting your heart first and being able to tell your kids you love them, being able to be emotionally available to your spouse and your kids, being able to be an actual human being. It's not that fucking calloused, tough guy bravado that they try to push across.
Yeah.
That's fake masculinity. That's false. That's not real.
Right.
But that's that straw man that they put up to be an argument. And then all of a sudden you get all these sneaker fish. You know what a sneaker fish is?
No.
I think I talked about this on the podcast. Maybe I haven't. So there's a fish called a sneaker fish. And what happens is in these fish schools, these big, we'll call them alpha male fish, have multiple women that they breed with, multiple female fish that they breed with. And these sneaker fish actually disguise themselves as females to get into the group. And then when the alpha fish this is his harem of bitches, right? When he's not looking, the sneaker fish impregnates the fish really quick.
Jeez.
And that's these these woe is me, alpha males suck, I'm really sensitive. That's they're sneaker fish, and they sneak in and they're trying to virtue signal, right? They're virtue signaling. That's what they're doing. They're putting their virtues out there, even if they're not even real virtues. They're putting their virtues out there to a point that everyone kind of ignores the danger that they are imposing on the people around them. And then all of a sudden, they're the best friends with the girls. And then one of the girls had too much to drink and they're going to give them a ride home. And then you hear about them taking advantage of them.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely know dudes like that. Those asshats that, roll in and work on the emotional side that, quote, might not be fulfilled by the husband.
Yeah.
And then try to get in and, wreck a marriage. So,
yeah. So I don't know. It's a weird situation with masculinity today, because true masculinity has nothing to be demonized, because it is virtuous. It is powerful, and it is developmental to our society.
Yeah.
But the straw man that is it media? I don't know if it's media or if it is these fucking, these sneaker fish, beta that have built this straw man argument against the false, because there are a lot of fucking douchebags, right? Like there's real douchebags that call themselves, an alpha or whatever. And they're just assholes.
Yeah.
Like that's not real. That's not masculinity. You're just a fucking prick.
Yeah. It's just, God, it reminds me of the history of the Spartans. When the alpha males went to war, then the beta males kind of took over. So, and that was the demise of that community. It wasn't the battles or the 300 that got slaughtered. It was the demise of the man, the alpha male.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're starting to see that now.
Yeah. And as we push forward the negative attitude towards real true masculinity, then all of a sudden it becomes less attractive for that to be developed. And the death of the father is a big issue. And one of the weirdest things I remember, I can't remember what book it's from, so I'm not going to be able to give you the book. But it was quoting a study of single parent households with no father involved, and single parent households, but split households, right? Where the father is still involved, the parents just aren't together.
Yeah.
And one of the weirdest things is, you would think this is totally backwards, but without a father involved, empathy is not developed. Where you would think that a mother, being like the motherly, sympathetic, empathetic being,
right,
would be the one that kind of helps develop that in a child. And it seems to be the opposite. It seems to be that the father is the one that the children develop the empathy from. Yeah.
I think there's a different type of empathy that the media tries to portray. They associate empathy as weakness, right? And there's a portion where, when we've dealt with warriors that, you would think are just hardened people, but they're such hardened people, but when you see them being empathetic, there's a whole new level. It's not like taking a kid and be like, here's a tissue paper, wiping the tears from your eyes, but it's literally this heart of unselfishness that I think kids have to, especially young boys have to see, is that, you can be a man. It doesn't mean that you have to be emotional, like a dish rag to be empathetic. There's a hard line there.
And you can be strong without being callous.
Yeah.
You can be able to see the meaning behind pain, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, that hurt. I get it. Like, that really did hurt. And I understand that you're going to cry because that hurt. But also, let's look at what lesson we can learn from what just hurt you. And that's, I think, where a father figure comes in, or or like we always talk about the loss, right? When you lose a competition, or you've gotten an F on a paper, or you've done something wrong in a group of friends and you hurt because of it. It's, that motherly instinct is just to nurture and nerf the kids from the pain. Whereas, and I'm saying motherly and fatherly because this isn't necessarily a man-woman scenario, but it is, masculine-feminine scenario. Whereas the masculine influence comes in and really does say, all right, yes, that hurt. That pain that you feel right now, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, that pain that you feel right now, that is a dash light. That is a signal that there is something to be done better next time. Now let's reverse engineer this and figure out what that signal is. I'm not going to sit here and nerf you from that pain because you need to feel that pain. And first of all, I think that the lack of that influence is a big contributing factor to the problems that we see today, because so much of the younger generation feels that pain and has no ability to reverse engineer that pain as to what they did to cause it, or what they can do to improve it next time, or what that pain means. They just feel pain and they run. Yep.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it's, they don't know how to push through. It's like we talk about that 40%. And I think it really leads into like what we're talking about, with happiness and joy. I mean, there's a definite level of suffering that, determines whether, you're just out for happiness or out for joy. There's a permanence versus a temporary feeling.
Yeah. And
then media and everybody's pushing for this temporary feeling, which is called happiness. So we'll get into that in a little bit here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're just about there. Realistically, my mental is just, I've been working on a book, How to Talk to Anyone by, I think it's Lyle, Leil, Loudis. And it's just, it's a bunch of little suggestions of how to actually create meaningful conversation versus like, just one quick example of what it is like somebody asks you where you're from, right? You meet somebody like, where are you from? Instead of just saying, oh, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, right? Or I'm from Reedsburg, Wisconsin. We'll say, this makes it easier. Yeah. Instead of me just saying like, oh, I'm from Reedsburg, Wisconsin, right? I give them something to then develop the conversation further. I'm from Reedsburg, Wisconsin. We used to be the butter capital of the world, right? Then they have capitals of the world they could talk about. They have butter, they have dairy, they have like 20 different things that they can then develop a conversation, and then we can go deeper into a conversation. But it's not just like, oh yeah, and that's up north, right? Like it gives you like this fucked. So it's just a bunch of little things like that.
So you're going to tell everybody you're from the butter capital of the world?
I am. Well, I think it used to be. I don't know if it is anymore, but I have
no clue.
That's where I'm originally from. But so that's been my mental work this week. And then kind of spiritual and emotional we'll get into now, with the deep dive into happiness. And I think you already kind of played your cards onto where you are with the happiness versus joy. And I think I'm going to come from a similar place, but I'm also going to kind of negate the idea or the false god of happiness. So I'll let you kind of dig into your development of happiness versus joy and the pursuit of the two. And then I'll kind of come in as there's areas to kind of, I really do think happiness is kind of a false god that we're trying to get. And it's not really a thing that you can get. Yeah. It's a byproduct.
I think we're on the same lines there. I mean, I define it as happiness is literally, it's an emotion, and which, it's circumstantial. It's always based on circumstance. I think we brought it up in past podcasts where whenever somebody talks about, well, I'm in search for happiness, or I just want to be happy. And I always think of happy as happenstance. Everything is circumstantial, and joy, having been through some stuff in my life that's just, it was hell at the time. Between my dad and between, services, like I realized that joy is living above the circumstance. It's like, I heard it once. It's the best, analogy is that you don't like your kids every day, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But you love your kids every day.
Yeah.
So, and that's the difference between, you know, happiness is, you know what, you're not going to like every single day. Every single day isn't going to be rainbows when you wake up. But you know what, you get through some of that hard shit, some of that suffering, and you're going to experience the joy or the contentment. You know, and we've talked about before where you see people, and like you just talked about a second ago, is people that keep searching for that God. Well, that God could be, you know, a vehicle. But what happens? That person gets that vehicle. What happens? Yeah,
nothing. It goes away so fast.
Yeah. And that's where you have to look at, you know, when I look at happiness and joy, my experience is that, you know, it's like a 91-degree day like today. You want some relief. Well, all happiness is, it's a swimming pool that's about 1 inch deep and 1 mile long. You know, you just got to keep lapping up that water until, you know, you just keep getting those small little celebratory feelings of happiness. You're happy for a little while. Where joy is at 1 mile deep, you know, 1 mile long swimming pool. I mean, it's, you know, you got to learn to swim in it to enjoy it. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just, you know, how I always looked at it. And, you know, happiness is caused by either it's just experiences or material objects. And for what we do in the podcast here, when we talk about contentment and joy, it's about being squared away. When you're squared away, you know what? You're going to have a lot of days that suck. That's what life is. But you know what? You can find contentment and joy through that, because it's, I look at social media, you know, whenever you get people's pictures from, you know, whatever they're doing, like this summer, you know, summer, everybody's outside and they're doing stuff. And then you see a social media wall that's just littered with everybody's like vacation or the best picture. You know, they get everybody together and they're all happy in that 30 seconds, right? As soon as they snap the picture, the kids are screaming. You don't see the, you know, the 5-hour flight that was, you know, pure hell. You're sitting next to a 400-pound dude that's spilling over in your seat. You know, the kids are tired and cranky. You're trying to find a place to eat. This place is expensive and all that. You never see that on a social media wall, right?
No, you only see the highlight reel, right?
Yeah. And that just that little few seconds of happiness. But, you know, people that pursue that, you know, you're never going to be filled. It's that shallow swimming pool that, you know, it's just in and out, and out.
And one of the big problems with social media, like we talked about before, is that our brain is not wired to understand that 10 seconds of happiness that you see from person A, and then you scroll and see 10 seconds from person B, and scroll and see 10 seconds from person C, and you go all the way down, and you've now scrolled for 5 minutes and seen everybody's 10-second happiness reel. Well, let's take a 24-hour period and look at the other 23 hours, you know, and how many ever minutes and seconds that made up the rest of that shit day.
Yeah.
Our brains they're not able to think about that. Our brains go, our 24 hours versus that specific 24 hours, not everybody else's 24 hours, right? Because they all went through shit to get there. So our brains aren't able to compare that. And this one thing that I have written down that I love, this fucking quote, is from Theodore Roosevelt: comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
And so strictly comparing, period, is just thievery, because you're always going to find someone that has a specific 10 seconds that were better than your last 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're never looking for the person that has the 10 seconds that was way shittier.
Yeah.
You're not looking for that. You're not going, oh, I'm glad I didn't glad I didn't just get in a car accident. I'm glad I didn't just cut 3 of my fingers off. I'm glad I didn't, you're never looking for that. Nobody posts that shit. Well, they kind of do, but you don't see it, right? You don't compare to it. So I love the idea that, so I'm going to get into a little bit of the happiness hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, but also Jordan Peterson's idea of happiness. And this is kind of happiness, joy, and joy together. Not really contentment, because contentment is something that you can feel for a long period of time, because you're content with where you're at, what you're doing. That's kind of your mindfulness, right? That's you're mindful of, like, I'm here. Like, I'm good with being here.
Yeah.
But happiness, you can't ever search for happiness or work for happiness or try to get happiness. You need to search for meaning and work for meaning and invest yourself into becoming the best you that you can be. And then happiness will come and go. but you can't reach for happiness and grab it. Happiness is like a bird that's flying just out of our reach, right? And if we're trying to catch that bird, we're not gonna fucking catch that bird. That bird is gonna evade us every time. But if we've got our head down and we're concentrating on our meaning, our reason for being here, that bird is gonna eventually, it's gonna land on us for a few minutes, and that's gonna be that joy and that happiness. But at least we're gonna feel it. And then all the other times that we're not feeling it, we're content because we know that we're putting in the effort. And that effort comes to the squared away mentality and the things that we're doing. And we're working towards meaning. We're working towards being the best version of ourselves and giving our gift, whatever our gift is. Everyone's got their gift, and we're giving our gift to the people around us. Yeah. And that, I love that. If you guys have never really, listen to any of the Jordan Peterson talking about happiness, it really kicks you right between the fucking legs, because it's like, oh, like I want to be happy, but I can't try to be happy. Yeah.
No, it's circumstantial.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's, I like Jordan Peterson's outlook on that. And it's, he talks about where joy and contentment is, that's where you get that inner peace from, where happiness you're always chasing. And, for example, I know somebody that, especially for, people in the education system, right? They're, they have most of them have summers off, and a lot of them have summers off, and they try to fill that with activities, constant stimulus, constant activities. But what if you took that time to have a few activities, but spent most of that time working on bettering yourself? Bettering yourself, I mean, that from your experiences, has such a long-term effect on joy and contentment, because it's a lasting effect. It's not, happiness is just it's celebratory, right? Yeah. Something happens, boom, I'm happy, overjoyed, and it's done the next day. And then you're looking for the next thing to make you happy. And, how do you get people to realize that you're chasing happiness? It's temporary, versus, take this time to really work on yourself.
Yeah. And one of the weird things is like, we evolved to be unhappy. We did, because let's say we have two tribes, right? And we have two tribes that are living 50 miles away from each other. Yeah. Get off my fucking back with the tribes. All right. We have two tribes that live 50 miles away from each other. And one tribe is just really just down to earth, chill, happy people. They're just happy. Right. Yeah. And then the other tribe is this like discontent tribe that always needs something better, always needs more food, always needs better weapons, always needs to learn how to fight better. Like they're never happy. They're discontent. Right. Yeah. Now let's take generation after generation after generation. What happens to the discontent, unhappy tribe that is always striving to be better? They become fucking awesome. They do, because they're always striving to be better. Whereas the tribe that's just like chill and happy and cool with what, we got mangoes here, man. We don't need to go climb the mountain to get coconuts. We got mangoes right here. They stay the same. So evolution has triggered us to be discontent and unhappy, which is really fucked up. It really is ass backwards, because we have that drive for the next big thing, the next cooler iPhone, to lift more, to run faster, to improve the diet, to get smarter, to get more knowledge. We have this internal drive for more. But that's also what has taken us through evolution to become, look outside. Look outside. Yeah. You can drive on a fucking road in a vehicle that takes dead dinosaurs as gasoline, explodes it in a motor, takes that motor, turns a gear that turns your rubber tires to drive you to the fucking grocery store to get meat from an animal that was probably killed 500 miles away and prepackaged. Yeah. If we were cool and just content with being us and not needing more, we would just be the fucking tribe that's still living in the middle of nowhere.
But you're talking about positive discontent.
So that's the weird thing is I don't think discontent is necessarily positive or negative. I think that it is like the drive to reproduce. Okay. So we have a drive to reproduce, right? We all got it. If you don't have it, there's something fucking wrong with you.
Well, I didn't know shagging was a drive to reproduce, but
it is, right? That's the drive to reproduce. Why else would you want that?
Regulate testosterone.
No, it's a drive to reproduce. So let's think about it like the drive to reproduce.
Yeah.
If you let that drive to reproduce just go willy-nilly everywhere and you're trying to bang the fucking cashier at Quick Trip, right? And your waitress and the girl in the car next to you and whoever, right? That's your drive to reproduce, just completely unchecked and unchained. Okay. It's the same as the discontentment. If you just let that discontentment drive you constantly to get a better car, better iPhone, faster, bigger, this, that, bigger house, bigger. That's the same as the unchained, unbridled drive to reproduce. That is unhealthy. But
so I could say healthy or unhealthy discontent.
Yes. And but you can't take an unhealthy discontent and make it a healthy discontent without at least shining the light on it. So that's what we're doing here with this little 5-minute part of this conversation is I want to shine the light on that discontent so that you see where that drive comes from. You not being you, Martin, but you, listener, you see where that drive comes from and you are able to manage it. Because if it's this internal drive, right? So Jonathan Haidt he coined this phrase, which he originally attributes to Buddha, but he coins this phrase that the subconscious mind is like a big elephant. Okay, it's huge, can do whatever it wants. The conscious mind is like a little boy riding and training this elephant. And if the elephant is well trained and kind of wants to do what the boy says, the elephant's going to do it. But if the elephant wants to go on a fucking rampage, the little boy on his back's not going to stop it.
Right.
And that's the conscious mind. The conscious mind is the little boy on the elephant's back. And if you, and that's where we have all these people that they want to lose weight. They want to get in shape. They want to get smarter. They want to start reading more. They want to work harder. They want to get up on a Monday morning and run. They want to do all these things. That's the conscious mind. That's the little boy, right? But the subconscious mind is that big fucking elephant. And that elephant is going to do what it wants. So you need to train that elephant. And so how do you train that elephant? Well, he starts giving examples of like, if you want to run, right? And this also goes back to the Habit Loop podcast, right? If you want to create a habit, if you want to run, hang your shoes on your fucking door in your bedroom. Okay. So you're going to get up, you're going to see it. That's going to be a reminder. Okay. And then you're going to put your shoes on and you're going to run to the Dunkin' Donuts. It's 2 miles and you're going to get a donut. You might be in a plus calorie surplus, right? Like you burn 200 calories to get there and eat a 500 calorie donut. Yeah. But that's that giving the dog the treat, right? Like if your dog does something good and you give him a treat 2 hours later, does he have any fucking idea what he did? Does that help train your dog at all?
No.
You have to give him the treat right away, right? The subconscious mind is the same way. I ran and got the donut. I got the treat. That builds the habit of running. And this is just an example that he uses, but there's so many different examples you could use like this to train the subconscious. And the better that you train the subconscious, the more power you have over it. And then you're never going to have all the power over the subconscious, but you can always be improving. Just like we talk about being squared away, you can always be improving. And I love that he uses that example of the subconscious mind and the elephant and the rider. And the better you get at training that elephant, the better you get at training your subconscious, the more happiness comes because you are building those relationships. You are improving your ability to search for meaning. You are you're down less on yourself because you're not you don't have as much negative thought because you didn't want to run and you just sat in your fucking bed. You wanted to run and you ran. And that's an accomplishment. And that is going to give you that bird's going to land on your shoulder for a second. But he didn't even write this book to be about happiness. I didn't know this, but when you write a book, you don't get to set the title. When you go to a publicist, you write the book, you have a title in mind. Oh, really? And their marketing department sets your title.
Unless you're self-publishing.
Yes. But their marketing department sets your title. So he wrote a book. He's a clinical psychologist and he taught at University of Virginia, I think. And he was worried that he wasn't going to get tenure. So he started writing this book, which was basically written how he teaches. And his whole idea was to take quotes from ancient wisdom, from Stoics and all these ancient wisdom, ancient philosophers. And then he would teach current psychology based on these quotes because they knew that we haven't changed that much from 2000 years ago. Our minds still work the same. It's different, different buttons we're pushing, but our minds still work the same. And so it was supposed to be like 12 ancient wisdom quotes to help you today or something stupid like that. And they completely changed it to the happiness hypothesis. And it was like, oh, and he's like, I didn't like it at first, but then I reread what I had written. And there was 3 main hypotheses in this book of happiness. First hypothesis, which was he defuncted right away, was the search for things, right? The search for getting faster, the search for getting stronger, the search for a better car, that search right. Of things that we just talked about. That's completely defunct. Because if anybody has ever set a goal and got that goal, you're happy. Even Goggins talks about it. Like you're happy for like a minute, maybe.
Yeah.
5 minutes if there's a big celebration and there's a lot of people there to like pat you on the back. But you don't wake up the next day and go, I ran a 4-minute mile. I can fucking relax today.
Right.
You don't kick back. So, and it's the same with the new iPhone or a faster car, or a better car or something, whatever, put your thing in there because everybody has their own thing. That doesn't bring you happiness. Never will. The second one was the idea that he got from the Stoics and from the Buddhists, which was, hold on, I gotta read this one for sure. Make sure I don't fuck this one up. Is that happiness comes from within. Like you just choose to be happy. And he goes through and he kind of breaks that down and puts a bunch of current human psychology behind that one and really kind of defuncts that one for today. Really, it was great. It was great back in the day when there wasn't nearly the stimulus that we have. You had 20 people that you really knew, it wasn't like how we live today. It's like, so that one really, he breaks it down to like not really being viable in today's culture. Whereas as the third one, and this I really do like, and I'm going to implement this into my daily practice, is that happiness comes from relationships. And he's got 3 different relationships that he really brings up. And it is happiness comes from the relationships between yourself and others. So you and your spouse, you and your kids, you and your friends, relationships with people, and the happiness comes from those relationships. And I completely agree. As I kind of develop that in my own mind, I 100% agree with that, because seeing something that I've done that has impacted someone else, whether it's, I got a message this week on Instagram and it was this kid who's followed me for years. And he sent me a picture of, this is almost bringing tears to my eyes. He sent me this picture of himself when he was like 13 and like this scrawny little kid. And then this picture of now when he's 18 and he's like jacked in the gym. And he's like, you did this.
Well,
and I'm like, no, I didn't do that, bro. You did it. I'm just like the little bit of, the little bit of daily improvement impulse to like, I'm the shoes hanging on the door that reminded him to run. That was it. But like, that was awesome. Like that brings me joy. And so those relationships, that's awesome. The relationships between yourself and your work, which this is where specific people that I know that are striving for happiness, that, because I don't know if you've ever heard anybody that's written a book, like you have to write a book for a person or a specific audience. You can't write a book for a million people, right? So like I have specific people's in mind when I do podcasts, and this one, I struggle with this, and specific people that I know that are always striving for happiness struggle with this, is the relationship between you and your work. And that we talked about, I think last week or the week before, where I need to reframe my work in my mind, because my work that I do is not rewarding. But the ability to provide for my family and save extra money to pay for college and be able to do all of that stuff, that's where my relationship, I need to concentrate more on that part of my relationship with my work, all while trying to improve my relationship with my work. Not this specific work that I do right now, but if there's a better work that I can develop myself into to build that relationship with my work. And that's where I see a lot of people have trouble, because they have a poor relationship with their work. And other than sleeping, the majority of your fucking life is done working.
Yeah. It's 40 plus hours of your time.
Right? Like that's a big fucking deal. So if you have a poor relationship with that work, and then let's say you have a poor relationship with that work and your relationship with your spouse isn't great. How fucking there's nowhere for happiness in there.
Yeah.
But how are you able to improve without at least shining that spotlight, like we talked about, on where your relationships are lacking? So now we've shined that light on your relationships, the ones that are lacking. Now go back. If it's with a relationship with your spouse or with your kids or with your parents, go back and listen to our relationship podcast. Take that in, do a lot of your own research, because there's no way we could cover everything here, and improve those relationships, whether it's with your work. And then the last one, or your spouse or your kids or whatever. A lot of people have a piss poor relationship with their kids, because especially dads have a piss poor relationship with their kids, because they go to work, they come home exhausted, they put their kid on their iPad. Once in a while, they'll hang out with them. And 10 years goes by and that relationship is lacking. Think about, what we talked about with affluent youth and the suicide numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, the fathers just invested so much time in the work.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, what you're talking about relationships, I think hits it head on, because when people don't have that relationships, what are they looking for? I mean, what do you see on social media? People look at their work, their relationships with people, not as anything substantial. They look at it as validation. So whenever you go to a group function, what do some people do? It's either what I drive,
yep,
the position I have at work,
yep,
or something,
yep,
that validates them. All these posts that go up on social media, those 3-second clips that you see of everybody's, insanely wonderful lifestyles, right?
Yeah.
Are all just to get likes, validate.
Yeah.
There's nothing of substance to it at all. So, but people have substituted that and put all their energy towards that, to go on a trip so that they can get, 50 pictures of, all these close-up shots of them looking awesome, and life is awesome for me, so they can get validated, right?
Yep.
Or they'll sneak in a picture of their, their new car, or not even their fucking car. Like, have you ever come across that, where somebody will post a picture of a car, like a fucking nice car, and you're like, whoa, man, how did that work out? Oh yeah, I was thinking about buying it. Fuck you, don't post that, you asshole. I've seen people post like other people's cars saying, I saw this one on the street today. So I had I had a friend call me and he's like, did you see so-and-so bought a Bugatti? And I'm like, what? Yeah, I think they bought a Bugatti. They were posting about a Bugatti. And I just let it go. Like, I really try not to like buy into that bullshit, right? Yeah.
And then I think it's been a fucking year and I'm like, what about that Bugatti? Oh yeah, no, that wasn't theirs.
No.
Like, the fuck?
They're posting it like it was theirs?
Yeah, I don't. And this could be all like just someone interpreting it wrong. Like that, it could, not to like totally get on somebody's ass. It could be somebody totally interpreting a photo wrong. But like, you see that though, right? Like pictures of somebody on a private jet because they fucking rode on a private jet with somebody that charters jets or whatever.
Oh,
like, Yeah,
it's just no difference than half those scams that are, all these guys are either, I guess, probably renting the Lambos and renting the, the jets and then telling you that, hey, you can have a life like mine if you
steroids.
Follow what I tell you. Yeah, steroids. The same place. Yeah.
Download my diet app. Bro, you're 60 and you are fucking jacked with veins. You are not doing that with diet. Trust me, I know.
It's like buying those old bodybuilding magazines and then them telling you how to build muscle. I'm like, probably not.
Right. So, do you see all the new memes where it's all COVID vaccines? It's like, oh, I saw two high schoolers vaccinating each other in the locker room today. Good kids.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. No.
Anyways, and then the last relationship before we get to our hour, the last relationship is the relationship between yourself and something bigger than yourself. So for some people, that's going to be a religion. For some people, that's going to be some sort of universal meaning to them, whether it's their family, the echoes in eternity, right? Have you ever heard the echoes in eternity? Like what we do today creates echoes in eternity. For me, it's very much, it's kind of it's the universe. I call it the universe, right? You can call it God. I call it the universe because I think that has zero interest in us. I don't think it gives a fuck, but I think it's an energy that we can improve. And I think it's like a big, big, big puddle. And we have all these different colors of dye inside of us. And that's our energy. And as we invest our energy into improving everything and being a better person ourselves, I think that dye that we have goes to improve the universal energy a little bit. A tiny, minuscule, but it still is improving a tiny bit. And that's the last relationship, is that relationship that you and something bigger, something more.
Yeah. I know with Christianity, it talks a lot about, finding joy in all circumstances. So especially in trials and tribulations, the Apostle Paul wrote that. So maybe you should read that because because it's Apostle Paul.
I have a quote here. What is it from Ecclesiastes?
Ooh.
That's Bible, Solomon. Right? That's Bible, right? Ecclesiastes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
That's Old Testament too, by the way.
Okay. And if you follow the Urban Savage Instagram page, you saw this earlier this week, but there is nothing better for a man than that they should be happy in their work, for that is what they are here for. And that is that, like we talked about right there, you're finding the relationship between yourself and your work. And yes, you may be a line worker there is zero thing that you do during the day that there is to be happy about, but you can be proud of your investment towards something better and still be wanting to improve your lot in life.
Right.
And looking for something with more meaning.
Yeah. No, it's I think it all goes back to even like how Jordan Peterson's talking about it. Ultimately, this podcast too is about being squared away. Every podcast we seem to end with, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and get yourself squared up so that, you can feel what contentment is, so that you can discern what is lasting and what's not lasting, and I still go back to, with happiness, it's, do you want that 1 inch of, cool relief in a 1 inch pool, or do you want that, mile deep pool where, it takes a little bit of work to swim in it, but, the lasting joy and contentment is much more substantial.
And this isn't an on and off. Like, it's just like with being squared away. This isn't a I am or I am not.
Right.
This is I am investing my time to improve.
Yeah. Every day. Physically, you're not going to hit the physical peak and you just, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. What is physical peak?
Yeah.
As long as you're a little bit better tomorrow, you haven't hit your peak.
Yeah.
We all are going to have a peak. Someday we're not going to be, we will, at some point in time, we will lift a weight, run a mile, look a specific way that we will never achieve ever again in our life.
Yeah.
That's going to happen to everybody.
And you're going to have to pivot a lot.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get comfortable doing the same thing, because guess what? Before you know it, you're, 50 years old, and
the whole goal is to just push that back, right? Is to just push that peak back to still be improving.
Yeah. Be your best. Be the best you can be. all the way around.
Oh, fuck. And then we're all going to die. Echoes in eternity.
Yeah.
At least we're recording our shit talking. So maybe this will help more people. Cause I mean that like I said, getting that message this week from that kid, like that really was like, holy fuck, like something that I've done. And that was never that wasn't the original goal. The original goal was a fucking t-shirt brand. Like,
yeah,
how fucking douchey is that, right? Like another fucking Instagram t-shirt brand. Let's go.
But you realize you planted a seed and now you see the fruits from it.
When I realized that I had honestly no interest in, the steps that it would take to create a t-shirt brand, I basically quit making t-shirts. I still have some. You can still buy them. They're still awesome. They're still the best fucking shirts. I wear them every day. Even the ones that have nothing on them, I wear them because the shirts are fucking awesome. But you know what sells t-shirts? It's really funny. Look at Grunt Style. Look at Brian's stuff at BC Limited. Look, it's like outrageous shit that I personally wouldn't wear. It's like, because it's the same as it bleeds, it leads. Billboard. Yeah, it's not even a billboard. Most of them don't even the logo. Yeah, they got the logo on the sleeve, right? But most of them, it's like a walking billboard for a saying or an idea, and that's just not my style. And that's great. It doesn't mean that my style is any better than anybody else's style. But the minute that I realized that my style wasn't going to sell, I didn't try to fake it. And that I'm proud of. That I'm pretty happy with myself that I didn't try to fake something that I had no interest in. And that's when it was a good 2 years before it pivoted into now what it is sort of it's the personality behind this podcast on my end. That's what it's pivoted into is the values haven't changed. The values are still all exactly the same. It's just the end product. First of all, is free. You don't have to pay to listen to this podcast. Hopefully someday we get paid for you listening to this podcast, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's still helping a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
So
that's what matters, right?
Yeah. But, and that's where we get to with happiness. Happiness is a false god. That's basically, happiness is fake. It's not fake. Happiness is a byproduct. Happiness is a byproduct of you striving to improve your lot, whether it is your relationship with people around you, whether it is your daily work, whether it is your power and spirituality. Happiness comes in small doses and fleets away. It's
a byproduct. It shouldn't be a goal.
No.
Because if you make that your goal, guess what? You're going to drive yourself nuts.
Yep.
Because, ice cream can make you happy.
Yep.
And you could end up, 400 pounds on ice cream.
Yeah. And ice cream will make you happy. But why do we talk about fucking ice cream so much?
Because we love it.
The weirdest thing with ice cream, the weirdest thing with any sort of mouth pleasure, right? Like, let's just talk about any food. Everybody's got something different. For us, clearly it's ice cream. Why is it that more in our head seems like it's better, but like the fifth bite doesn't taste any better than the first bite? Right?
Yeah. So how do you get to a point where, if it's not an everyday indulgence, or, that rolls over past indulgence, by the way.
Clearly, like you could, it wouldn't be financially lucrative, but you could go through an ice cream drive-through, get the best shake that you've ever, your thing that you love, right? Yeah. For me, it would be like peanut butter sauce and peanut butter cups and chocolate ice cream. Like, fuck yeah, let's go. Dude. Have a bite, throw the motherfucker out the window. You could do that every day and you would never get fat. That's like 50 calories, 30 calories.
Right.
That's like nothing. That's nothing bad for you.
Yeah. But we live in a society of indulgence.
Yeah.
That, there's the extra large, there's the gotta have it size at Cold Stone. So you pile that sucker down, guess what? You're done. You still want more the next day.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're on the couch, freaking Jabba the Hutt.
And that's so I know myself, right? We talked about this already. I know that if it's we talked about it during the nutrition podcast. I can't have the shit in the house because I'm going to fucking eat it. Yeah. Like my willpower comes from not having the shit around me. That's where my willpower, it's a pre-planned willpower. So you know what Hertz Donuts is, right?
Yeah, I know her. Yeah.
So Hertz
There's
Donuts
none around here.
there's one in Middleton.
There is?
Yeah, it opened a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
And so everybody talking about Hertz Donuts, posting pictures of Hertz Donuts, talking about these fucking crazy donuts. If you don't know what a Hertz Donut is, it's basically like an ice cream sundae, but it's a donut. Like they take one donut and cover it with a bunch of shit, and they have all these different donuts, right? And so I walked in there and I'm like, well, I want to try that one, and I want to try that one, and I want to try that one. And they're like, well, a 6-pack is like the same price as 4. I'm like, all right, give me a fucking 6-pack. So I buy a 6-pack of Hertz Donuts, all different types. And I wanted to try each one, but I knew that if I left those Hertz Donuts in my car, I would keep eating them.
Oh, wow. So
I would pull a donut out and I would take a bite and I'd roll the window down and I'd chuck the fucker out the window.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
At least the birds are happy.
And then I tried it and it was good. And then the Andy's Mint one is there. And I'm like, okay, bite of the Andy's Mint one. Roll the window down, chuck the fucker out the window. All 6 of them. Because I know that if they're sitting on my seat next to me, I'm going to fucking eat them.
Yeah.
I'm a fat kid at heart. Like I grew up fat as fuck. So that's kind of the funny thing is, I guess, like what I'm trying to say is like more pleasure doesn't necessarily bring happiness.
Yeah.
It just elongates the same amount of happiness.
I mean, learn to celebrate your happiness. You know, it's kind of like cheat days.
Yeah.
You know what? A cheat day make you happy. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have a cheat day, guess what? I'd love to have a Dutch apple pie, gluten-free crust, double the crumblies on top. You know, give it to me. I'll eat the whole thing in one sitting.
Yeah.
Or by the end of the day, the whole thing is gone at least.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's okay. I'm happy. I mean, it's a reward, but you know what? I'll hit it hard in the next week.
Yep.
But it's, you have to learn to do that. We're in a society, like I said, that is so into doing that every single day.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's, I don't know. I mean, would you call that an addiction?
Yeah, but that
material thing. Same
let's get
thing.
back to the evolution, right? Like, not totally to elongate this podcast any longer, but it's the same urge as the sexual urge we talked about, and the urge for improvement or getting better weapons, bigger things, the urge for shiny stuff. It's the same urge for food. Like we evolved, whether you believe in evolution or not, we evolved for thousands and thousands of years in a scenario where there was never an abundance of food, or if there was an abundance of food, it was for a day or 2 days. And then there would be long droughts where you were picking berries off of trees, trying to feed an entire tribe.
Yeah.
So an internal urge to just eat and to pack on as much fat as you can, that urge would make you a healthier person in that scenario. So for thousands and thousands, 100,000 years, that urge would make you healthier and make you be able to reproduce. So it would extend your genes longer. Now we live in a society where that is never a problem. There is never a lack of food. For 99.9% of the population, there's never a lack of food. We still have that same urge to just fucking pile it in. So you need to be able to manage that urge to then be a healthy person.
Yeah.
And it's that same urge for stuff. It's the same urge for reproduction. It's all these gluttonous, urges that we have, because they would have kept when one out of 9 babies lived, you needed to have a lot of sex and make a lot of procreation to advance the population. Well, now infant mortality rates are so low that you've got people with 20 fucking kids.
Yeah.
20 kids with 18 different women. And one guy told me that his brother has 20 kids with 18 different women.
Seriously?
That motherfucker should have been castrated a long time ago.
Sure, he's not like a Mormon or something?
Nope. 18 different women. I'm guessing one after another, not all together. Like this is not a Mormon scenario.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So quick points. Don't make happiness a goal. Happiness is never a goal. If you're reaching for happiness, it's going to be like, I don't know, trying to fucking hold an egg. What is it? Or what, one of those balloon things or whatever that you're like trying to grab and then they just keep coming out of your hands.
Oh, yeah.
You can't see this because this isn't a video podcast. Happiness comes from your relationships. And so this is a big thing that I'm going to try to implement is small improvements in those 3 areas of my relationships, is relationships with the people around me, relationships with my work, and relationships with my universal power. And I think that right there is going to increase levels of happiness exponentially.
Yeah. And for me, it's just spiritually, that's my root, and having a good relationship with God and, good fellowship with the folks around me. And that's where it all begins, and being content with what I have, in the everyday, even with when work is shitty. So
yeah, still a job, still pays the bills, even when it's a shitty job. And hey, like we talked about with Byron Rogers, even all those failures, you learn something from them.
Yep.
Excellent. You guys have an excellent rest of the fucking day.
All right. Have a great week. See ya.